Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to check out the brand new Infinix Note 10 Pro. This device is trying to give us a very good bang for the buck experience when it comes down to the features that we get. We have an almost 7-inch display, a 5000 mAh battery, a 90Hz refresh rate with stereo speakers and a headphone jack, and of course, all coming in under $260. This is TK and this is all the best features of the brand new Infinix Note 10 Pro. Let's check them out. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified too whenever we have new videos on the channel. So this is what comes in the box. Obviously the Note 10 Pro from Infinix, 256 gigs of internal storage with 8 gigs of RAM. It does include a clear case, a glass screen protector, of course a USB-C to USB Type-A cable, supporting the 33-watt charger that we get here that will be charging the 5000 mAh battery that we get within the device. Very nice complete package, and you pretty much only need to apply the glass protector on the device and you're set. Use the case and you can charge it quite fast. When it comes down to the specification of the smartphone, we'll go ahead under my phone. It is running a custom version of Android on top of Android 11. So Android 11 in here, and of course Dolphin or XOS version 7.6.0, which is essentially codenamed Dolphin. As I mentioned to you guys, we have 8 gigs of RAM. We have 256 gigs of internal storage. That's going to be a UFS 2.1. We have basically 16 megapixel primary shooter on the front and the quad camera setup on the back. The primary shooter is going to be a 64 megapixel sensor. As far as the processor, we're running a Helio G95. And if we kind of have to compare this to what we get with the Snapdragon brethren, this is roughly about a Snapdragon 730. So definitely a mid-range processor level. 5000 mAh battery, and as I mentioned to you guys, a 6.97-inch display, as you can see right there, full HD plus with 90Hz refresh rate running on top of Android 11. And one of the other things is they will support dual SIMs as well as an SD card at the same time. So that covers overall most of the specifications on here. As I mentioned to you guys, we have a multiple camera setup in the back. The primary shooter is going to be your main one with dual tone LED flash. Now the back material is not going to support wireless charging, and it also is made out of plastic. You can definitely feel that. But you have to understand at a price point that this device is coming in, obviously when you put a case on it, it's not going to have any problems, but overall, definitely a plastic bag. But again, at this price point, you expect certain compromises, but definitely looks really nice and very translucent. As I'm showing you guys, I was outside actually, depending on how the light hits it, it actually gives you a nice little reflection. So this is definitely one of their better options as when it comes to colors, and there's a couple of other options available as well. Looking on the right side, we have the power button with the fingerprint sensor built into it at the same time, and it works very, very fast. We not only have that, we also have face unlock. So if I just bring up the device, unlock it, it unlocks right away. So here, we do half press, and we do just a little bit of press on the bottom, looking up, unlocks, works very nicely. We have 6.97 full HD plus 90Hz refresh rate with a punch hole camera. That's going to be the 16 megapixel sensor. Right above the power button is going to be that volume rocker. On the top, not much, pretty much a clean slate. On the left, we have the SIM tray, again, supporting a SD card as well as 2 SIM cards at the same time. And other than that, it's pretty clean. On the bottom, we have a headphone jack, which is definitely very appreciated. One of the microphones, a USB-C for data charge as well. And of course, the bottom firing speaker that's married with the earpiece at the top to provide us that stereo speaker experience. As far as network connectivity, I am running it on T-Mobile, and I'm basically able to get 4G LTE on it. And you'll look at it in a second once the connection transfers over. And as far as the OS, because we have 8 gigs of RAM, it actually runs pretty fluidly. The operating system that we have here again is Android 11 with XOS, or what they're calling their XOS, essentially their version of Android, an Android skin. Now, it does have an app drawer. You swipe up from the top. If you swipe down from the app drawer, you have access to customization, but also it looks like some ads for some games. It seems that the UI elements are basically customized in a way to kind of simplify usability. Swiping down from the top, it gives us access to shortcuts and hot searches. And if you actually do a simple search, let's say Google here, TK Bay, it actually ends up doing a Google search, so taking you directly into a Google search function. Very nice. And again, you can see here, when you put in TK Bay, you find my English channel, and right after that, you find my Twitter account as well. Swiping from the left, we have more of a kind of like a feed. It gives us access to some news articles and of course camera shortcuts, settings, gallery, and then some options here to be able to use the step counter as well as the weather. And as you can see, it opens up the weather app, does pull up the information, and if I click on the info, it automatically shows us that it's pulling the data. It seems like it's pulling it directly from weather.com. So very nice, very easy, and very simple. The UI element, again, very, very fast, very simple. We have gesture support, and again, face unlock, as well as fingerprint unlock. And like I mentioned to you guys, the fingerprint actually works very nicely. Now, one thing I will mention about XOS, it has a lot of customization options. Namely, again, as I mentioned, if I swipe up from the bottom, that takes me into the app drawer. Swiping it down gives me the ability of switching between between the wallpapers. We can actually swipe all the way from the center here. It takes us directly to the home. Pressing and holding, we can go directly into customizing the actual UI element. You can go in there. So number of badges, gesture settings, smart range. And this is where you'll be able to kind of change some of the other options. So a lot of things can be done directly within the actual built-in launcher. As far as the actual notification panel, we also have some options in here for privacy. So here there's peek proof. And that gives you the ability of actually running, let's say you're in a public area and you want to be able to read something, but you don't want people to be able to basically kind of see next to you. This peek option allows us to actually do something very unique. So let's go ahead and open up the Google Play Store. I only want to be able to basically read a small section of the display. So here you can actually customize exactly what's going, but you can also kind of change basically the visibility of it. So I can actually change the darkness here from light all the way to dark. And essentially the only area in my screen that can be visible is that portion. The rest of it goes away. And when you're done, you can go ahead and just disable it and it goes back to normal. Looks like I need to update a few applications. We'll go ahead and turn back Wi-Fi. And then, of course, we have other options in there: data, auto rotate, one-handed mode, screenshot, obviously flashlight. Obviously, we have nearby sharing, power boost for extended battery in life. Live transcribe is also supported, silent screen recording, and of course, screencast, eye care, and WhatsApp mode if you want to be able to just use that. And I don't have WhatsApp installed on this one yet. And of course, this is also extenuated here within the display brightness. You can go into sound, customize the sound experience. Under display, we are able to turn on the 90 Hertz refresh rate. Out of the box, it's turned on to 60. And of course, it's 1080p, so you don't have a way of changing the resolution, but for the most part, the refresh rate is definitely nice. The other thing we can also do is turn on dark mode. As you can see it here, theme and lock screen, you can customize it. And of course, storage, as I mentioned, 256 with 8 gigs of RAM. And this is how much I have actually being used. App management, privacy, location, kids mode. If you actually have a child and you want to be able to hand this phone to them, it's definitely very nice to be able to keep them from accessing the applications or things on the device that you do not want to. Power marathon, this is going to be something where you can actually turn on some optimizations to extend the battery life. Again, 5,000 milliampere battery built in here. XOS Lab, this is where they're going to be pushing in some new features into the actual system. But they're going to be experimental. Currently, none of them are available. Special functions, you can go in there, smart panel, Thunderback, and of course all the other options that you have in there. Of course, you can change the power menu option and accessibility, bookmarks, and so on. So definitely a lot of customization built into the OS. And again, at $259, this is definitely a very good bargain. Now let's go ahead and talk about the cameras that we have in here. Again, 16 on the front, 64 primary shooter on the back. The overall experience, at first you're taken directly into the AI camera, and I'll give you guys an example of some of those images and videos, of course. Under video, one of the main things that surprised me here with the Helio G95 is I'm able to record 4K 60 frames per second 4K 30 frames per second on the back-facing sensor, as well as the ability of doing the same on the front-facing sensor. Again, more expensive smartphones on the market don't even hit 4K. They always cap us at 1080p, maybe 1080p 60, but having that function available on a device at this price point, I think is definitely very nice. We have AI camera, beauty mode, as well as portrait mode. They're a little bit different. And of course, super night mode. Swiping up from the bottom gives you just a quick shot. And then of course, we have the AR shot that you can turn on as well. So a lot of nice things built in here. And of course, you have access to basically Google Lens camera if you want to be able to use that straight from the interface. So let's go ahead and jump into a quick sample of the front-facing and the back-facing video from the Infinix Note 10 Pro. So we'll start off with the front-facing camera. One thing that's very nice is that we actually get the chance to be using 4K 30 frames per second. Now, although we don't have 4K 60 or 8K on any of the sensors here, we can shoot 4K 30 frames per second on the front and on the back, which enables us to have a very consistent experience. So hopefully you guys like the audio and video from the front-facing camera on the Infinix Note 10 Pro, but let's go ahead and switch over to the primary sensor on the back. Now, switching it over to the 64 megapixel sensor on the back. Now, 4K 30 is going to be the maximum, and I feel like it's a combination of the processor and the actual camera sensor. So we're obviously going to be able to take much better pictures with this, but having the consistency of having 4K 30 on the front, 4K 30 on the back, and I did listen to the front-facing sample. The audio actually was pretty decent. Hopefully this one is good as well. Okay, so I decided to turn on the ultra steady mode here just to give you guys a sample of how does it stabilize video. Of course, first thing it's going to do is going to downgrade the video to 1080p 30, no 4K, but should be pretty decent. I'm noticing that the exposure is going a little bit crazy because of the white background that's going up back there. Let's go ahead and switch over to the primary sensor on the back with that same stabilization. We're using the back-facing sensor. Again, same experience, 1080p 30 frames per second stabilized. Essentially, it's shooting in a 4K resolution, but cropping down to stabilize. Now, as you saw there, 4K 30 on both front-facing and back-facing, and of course, stabilization available on both front and back-facing sensors. So again, a lot of features for what you're expecting to get with a smartphone at this price range. Now, I did mention to you guys, we do have stereo speakers, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick audio test here. Again, as usual, Alex Crindo Jumbo by NCS Release. I have volume set to 100%. Let's go ahead and start.
Jack it up.
As far as the sound experience, it definitely sounds really good, but I do want to share with you guys one more example, and that's because they actually sent me a nice little secondary kind of a dock that I feel like definitely augments the experience that what you expect from any smartphone. This actual dock looks very much like a standard just piece of wood dock, but it also includes a magnification speaker on the back. So what I end up doing essentially is, let's say we'll go ahead and start the song. I'll go ahead and put it down here, and the speaker now is facing down, the downward speaker here. The earpiece is facing me here, so if I'm watching a content, want to enjoy my movies, I'll go ahead and play this. Definitely does a better job at amplifying the sound because of the audio chamber that you get in here. Essentially, the sound goes through this bottom speaker, or this bottom opening, and then it resonates through the actual back end, and of course gives us that louder speaker. So great for content consumption if you want to be able to use it. You'll notice that once I went home, the actual UI element minimized it into more of a pop-up window. I can actually interact with it. And to make it bigger, all you have to do is just basically hold it, bring it down, and it becomes a little bit bigger as far as the UI element. And of course, you can scroll through, start playing, interact with it. And then from there, you have the ability of basically either bringing it in, so you can actually bring it down, close it, or of course, just make it into a full screen app. So definitely very nice, very simple and nice customizations within the UI. Now I'm pretty sure you guys want to see some benchmarks. I do want to mention that I did run the benchmark with and without the gaming mode turned on, and for the most part they were pretty much the same. About 507 on the single core and 1683, and when we start comparing them, again, as I mentioned to you guys at the beginning, they're roughly, I would say, around the Snapdragon 730 as far as the processing power. So that's the expectation level that you want to be able to kind of keep in mind. It's a mid-range processor, but no 5G support, but again, roughly about the Snapdragon 730, and it is very, very capable. Now, when it comes down to gaming, there is actually a specific gaming mode that you can actually interface with. So you turn it on, it takes you straight in. You can turn on and it automatically adds games. And of course, if they're not, you can go in there and customize them. I did add the actual benchmarking app, Geekbench 5, mostly because I wanted to see if the gaming mode does any enhancement or additional impact into performance. You can definitely see the different areas that you can customize in here. You can close that. And then when you launch a game, specifically, let's go ahead and jump into PubG. You'll notice that it gives us automatically the memory boost, CPU boost, and of course GPU boost. So trying to give you the best experience that you can with this large form factor smartphone. Now when it comes down to the customization options under settings, I'm pretty sure you guys want to know exactly how the actual performance is. For the best experience, if you're trying to go for the highest quality, it's going to be HD and high. But as far as fastest frame rate, you need to go smooth and ultra, and that's going to give you the best experience on here. Of course, I decided to go with colorful, and that's just the way I like to be able to play it. So let's go ahead and jump into a quick game, and I'll also show you guys the same information for Call of Duty Mobile. As you saw there with the gaming experience, it definitely looked really nice. We're able to utilize some of the high refresh rates on both PUBG and Call of Duty Mobile with the 1080p 90Hz refresh rate that we have here. So Infinix really is targeting this for an extended, longer usage. I think the Note title in here is not necessarily portraying into what Samsung uses the Note line for. This is really considered to be their higher end model, so about 260 bucks. Large display, large battery, stereo speakers with a headphone jack, expandable storage on top of the 256 gigs of internal storage is crazy with the amount of storage that you're getting for, again, under 300 bucks price point. So for watching movies, playing games, you're not going to have a problems. I think overall, when it comes down to a little bit, it's on the compromise side. Although we have a high megapixel camera on the back, I feel like the image processing may not be the best. Images do come out pretty clear, but I feel like the color isn't very strong on them. So as you're looking at some of those images I'm sharing with you guys, we had images taken during regular sunlight, and of course others where it was actually just a little bit foggy this morning when I was taking some of those images. So again, I think it's decent and it does the job, but not necessarily the best cameras on the market. But again, as a small little surprise, 4K 30 on the front-facing sensor when it comes down to video is something that we don't even get on some flagships that are currently available on the market. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of the Note 10 Pro from Infinix? I think this is definitely a very nicely tailored experience for the $260 price point. And if your expectations are set around that price point that you're paying, you're not going to be disappointed, and you actually may be surprised with some of the features that they've included. Thank you very much for the support. Like and subscribe as usual, and I'll see you in the next video.